Snow White and the Seven-Figure Weekend. Really 8, but still, Bomb City, baby! Controversy doesn't equal box office returns. Not every movie can have the chicken jockey. Delayed by a year due to the SAG-AFTRA strike in 2023, Disney's live-action version of Snow White has been making headlines for years now. Rachel Zegler faced backlash for being a Latina actor playing Snow White, for voicing feminist criticisms of the 1937 animated movie, and for her anti-Trump and pro-Palestine political statements.
You know, I really don't remember you being this opinionated.
Meanwhile, the casting of Israeli actor Gal Gadot as the evil queen sparked backlash on the opposite side of the political spectrum, with the Palestinian campaign for the academic and cultural boycott of Israel demanding a boycott of the film. The Seven Dwarfs also drew controversy. Actor Peter Dinklage opposed the idea of remaking Snow White in the first place due to what he called the backward story about seven dwarfs living in a cave together. Set photos of the seven bandit characters were misreported as replacements for the dwarfs, while the movie's actual dwarfs, who are never referred to by that word in the film, ended up being CGI creations that looked terrible. Ultimately, the way the film looked appears to have outweighed the many controversies surrounding its production. What's lost in all this is that the movie really did stink. Controversy aside, this was a pretty awful film. If you haven't seen it, you're lucky. Captain America: Brave New World also built up a reputation for controversy years before anyone even saw it. There were folks out there who couldn't figure out why Sam Wilson got to be the new Captain America from the start. The super soldier serum is pretty critical to the character after all, and he's not on the juice. But other groups found reasons to get upset with the production over the course of its extensive reshoots and delays. The film's original title, Captain America: New World Order, played into conspiracy theories. The character of Ruth Bader was changed from the Mossad agent superhero Sabra from the comics into an Israeli ex-Black Widow.
Stop your weapon!
Neither pro-Israel nor anti-Israel groups were happy with how the character was handled, and the film became another boycott target. More people got upset with Anthony Mackie for a comment at an Italian press event downplaying Captain America as a representation of America, though he quickly responded to the backlash with a patriotic clarification post on Instagram. When the movie itself finally came out, critical response was mixed and leaning negative. Some critics were particularly bothered by Brave New World's ending, in which Cap emphasizes forgiving President Ross despite his many crimes.
But I have to say, it wasn't nothing to see you take full responsibility for your actions.
Attempting an apolitical approach to extremely political subject matter ultimately didn't make anyone happy. Together, Michael Shank's body horror film about a couple whose bodies start merging together received some of the most enthusiastic responses at the 2025 Sundance Film Festival. Critics gave it unanimous praise, with a perfect 100% on Rotten Tomatoes, and Neon spent $17 million to get the distribution rights. But was the idea for the movie stolen? A lawsuit filed by writer-director Patrick Henry Phelan alleges that Together plagiarized his 2023 film Better Half. Beyond the shared premise, reported similarities between the two films included supposedly near-verbatim reference to Plato's Symposium, ending the film by playing a Spice Girls record, and a scene where the conjoined lovers hide outside the bathroom while their genitals fuse. For about 3 months in early 2023, it looked like Magazine Dreams was destined to be a serious awards contender. Searchlight spent $10 million on the rights to the film at Sundance, where its director Elijah Bynum won a special jury award for creative vision. Its unrelenting brutality led to divisive reactions, but everyone who saw Magazine Dreams at Sundance agreed that Jonathan Majors' performance as obsessive bodybuilder Killian Maddox was astonishing. Our own Audrey Fox even predicted Magazine Dreams will serve as a calling card for Majors' irrepressible talent and one of 2023's defining performances.
I won't let anything stop me from accomplishing this goal.
Well, that calling card got revoked when Majors was convicted of assaulting and harassing his former girlfriend. Portraying the depths of toxic masculinity is no longer that impressive if we're unsure how much of the portrayal is acting. Searchlight dropped Magazine Dreams after Majors' guilty verdict. The movie eventually got picked up by Briarcliff Entertainment, a distribution company making a name in releasing films other studios won't touch, and it was quietly released in theaters over 2 years after its world premiere. Almost no one saw Rust in theaters. Most people probably couldn't recognize the film from its title, but they've definitely heard about it. They just know it as the western where Alec Baldwin accidentally shot and killed cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter for the fatal accident, as Baldwin's prop gun contained a round of live ammunition. First Assistant Director David Hulse pleaded no contest to charges of negligent use of a deadly weapon. Baldwin was charged twice with involuntary manslaughter and pleaded not guilty, both times. The charges were dropped the first time and dismissed with prejudice the second time due to withheld evidence. This behind-the-scenes tragedy sparked debate about the use of working guns as movie props, with some calling to ban their use entirely now that special effects can replicate realistic gunfire. In light of the headlines about the production of Rust, it's no wonder people found it hard to enjoy the film itself. Premiering at the Camera Homage Festival in Poland in 2024 before a summer 2025 release, Rust got mixed reviews from critics, though many singled out Hutchins' cinematography as its strongest quality. Disney's live-action remakes of animated classics find themselves stuck between a rock and a hard place. Stay too faithful to the old movies, and there's no reason to watch the new version. But to make too many changes and the fans will complain. The live-action version of Lilo and Stitch changed the story's ending, leaving fans divided. In the original, Nani is fighting to maintain guardianship of her younger sister, Lilo. In the remake, Nani puts Lilo in foster care so she can go to college in California. The charitable interpretation of this ending is that Lilo's new foster mother was already part of a non-traditional ohana, thereby fitting the spirit of the original. But in light of the continuing history of the US government separating indigenous families, it raised many viewers' alarms that this remake would discard the cartoon's commentary on such issues in favor of uncomfortable government knows best implications. Another change that upset fans is that Bleakley no longer dresses in drag, instead using technology to disguise himself as an ordinary human male. While reducing the presence of the alien characters may have been a budgetary issue, director Dean Fleischer-Kamp's defeated sounding "I tried" answer on the subject has many suspecting that Disney was deliberately de-queering Lilo and Stitch as they have other recent projects. Another Simple Favor, the direct-to-Prime Video sequel to 2018's A Simple Favor, reunites Anna Kendrick as writer Stephanie Smothers and Blake Lively as criminal Emily Nelson.
You know, if you toss me off a cliff, you'll never see Nikki again.
Lively's been a favorite target of the tabloids amidst the various lawsuits between her and Justin Baldoni regarding issues on the production of 2024's It Ends With Us. Thanks to those reports, gossip circled around Another Simple Favor. Rumors spread that Kendrick and Lively were feuding at the film's South by Southwest premiere, although director Paul Feig directly denied them. But more drama surrounded an actor who didn't even appear in the film, Sharon Stone. The Basic Instinct star complained on Instagram about being, quote, cast and removed from my role unexpectedly for no reason at all. Insiders clarified that Stone was never actually cast in the film and had only had discussions about her role. The movie's queer incest plotline was also controversial for obvious reasons. Does anyone even remember The Electric State, the Netflix movie about a robot uprising in an alternate 1990s? This is the epitome of the type of Netflix movie that millions will watch but nobody cares about. Alistair Ryder absolutely demolished The Electric State in his review for Us, giving it a 1 out of 10 score.
You died, and now you're here. How did this happen? Are you a robot now?
So what makes this bad movie noteworthy enough to be controversial? Mainly the fact that the production costs $320 million, even considering the big-name stars in the cast and the extensive CGI. It's wild to think this streaming slop cost more than the first Avatar, and almost as much as Avengers Infinity War. There's also the issue that the source material, a graphic novel by Simon Starlinghag, is actually good, making the film's crappiness even more upsetting for fans of the original. And then there's the film's use of AI. While reportedly only used for voice modulation here, directors Joe and Anthony Russo's support for increasing the use of AI in filmmaking continues to spark outrage. A Minecraft movie is the sort of blockbuster that would normally garner headlines about its success saving theaters, if not for the fact that the kids watching the movie were literally destroying those theaters. Why? Rowdy kids went nuts over the chicken jockey scene.
Chicken jockey!
Adults reacted in a variety of ways, from panic and condemnation to bemusement and sometimes reluctant acceptance. Some screenings added pre-show warnings discouraging the throwing of popcorn, while other screenings have gone gone the opposite route, specifically marketing to both embrace and contain the wild energy of the fans. Alex Garland's Civil War was controversial, both for its charged premise of political conflicts breaking apart the United States and for the way it avoided explicitly contextualizing said politics. Garland's next film, Warfare, co-directed by Navy SEAL Ray Mendoza and based on Mendoza's personal experience in the Iraq War, never became quite the powder keg Civil War did, perhaps because not as many people went to see it. Still, it did stir up some controversy about the nature of war movies. Many reactions to the movie's trailer dismissed it immediately as military propaganda, but the choice to mock up military vehicles and uniforms rather than submit to Department of Defense approval to use real ones would seemingly speak against propaganda as Garland and Mendoza's intention. And when the film itself proved far less nationalistic than early doubters feared, it ended up being Garland's most universally acclaimed film on Rotten Tomatoes. But even among positive leading reviews of Warfare, some critics felt it lacked context. They also noted that a film like this from Iraqi perspectives would never get made. As an actual movie, Sinners is pretty uncontroversial. Critics love it, audiences love it, everyone seems to more or less get its message. The big controversy surrounding Sinners has had little to do with the film itself and everything to do with the way Hollywood and the major trades attempted to downplay its success. According to a report by Vulture, executives were fearful that if Sinners succeeded, it could end the studio system. The thing these executives feared was writer-director Ryan Coogler's somewhat unusual deal with Warner Brothers, in which the rights to the vampire film will revert to him in 25 years. Sinners' $48 million domestic opening weekend was the biggest for an original movie since the pandemic began, but headlines reporting on this box office were oddly uncelebratory, trying to downplay the success by pointing out the $90 million budget. Coogler got the last laugh. Sinners had absurdly strong legs and has now made over $350 million worldwide.
Go ahead. Admit to it.
Admit to what?
That you dead.